Hey there, welcome back to the Path to Better A1C podcast. I am your host, Jenny Pena, National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach, Diabetes Prevention Program Lifestyle Coach, founder of GenP Coaching, and creator of the A1C Reset Protocol, specifically designed for those lowering their A1C, balancing their blood sugar, trying to prevent type 2 diabetes, losing weight, and regaining their energy and focus. I talked about a lot of the physical risks that can happen when GLP-1 medications are used improperly. And I mentioned things like muscle loss, stomach issues, nutritional deficiencies, rapid weight regain that happens more often than I would like. I'm going to be very honest. But today, I want to shift the conversation into a different direction because weight loss is not just physical, it's also deeply emotional. And for the past few weeks, getting ready and doing research and looking over notes to prepare these podcast episodes around GLP-1 medications, my plan was surely not to do more than the series that I did in February. These 4 episodes, I thought that was it. And then so many people kept reaching out and asking more questions. And I just couldn't ignore it. And I felt that I just needed to follow my gut and try to address these things. So today we're going to talk about the emotional side of weight loss. And this doesn't have to be exclusive to GLP-1 medications. I think a lot of us, and I'm going to put myself included, can resonate to all of this. Now, one of the things that a lot of people do not expect, especially when they start medications, and I'm actually going to go even broader. There are other medications for weight loss. GLP-1s are just on a rave in the sense, but there are other medications that have been around for a while that people still use. When you're using these medications, there is a lot of the emotional relationship with food, the emotional relationship with the body, and a lot of the identity that begins to shift. These medications change your appetite, it changes your eating habits, it changes your body composition relatively quickly. And while it may sound like a very good outcome, in many cases, it can also create emotional experiences that people simply aren't prepared for. Another reason to have support. The first thing that can happen is a sense of identity shift. For many individuals, weight has been part of their identity for years, decades at times. And when weight begins to change rapidly, the mind sometimes struggles to catch up with what the body is experiencing. Some people describe looking in the mirror and not fully recognizing themselves. I had a client that shared that with me and said, I look at myself and I ask, who is that person? So, this can create a strange emotional space where the body's changing, but also the internal sense of self that hasn't fully adjusted yet. So, there are a lot of shifts. Another shift that can occur, and I think that that's the biggest one, if not the biggest, is one of the main shifts. And it has to do with how do you cope and how do you relate to appetite? Because for many of us, again, I'm going to include myself, food is not just fuel. For many people, including myself, food has also been connected to comfort, to celebration, to birthdays, to this is what my grandmother used to make for me every fill the blank, stress relief, routine. So when you're getting these medications that most of them suppress their appetite, and while that may help reduce overeating, it can leave people wondering what to do with these emotions that they previously managed with food. Again, another element that I talk to my clients about: how can we shift a celebration or a sense of comfort or a coping mechanism? How can we change that? And that is something that a lot come to realize while they're in this journey. They realize, wow, food was really serving me, not just for fuel. And I had a lot of stress that I didn't have the tools to manage or to build a resilience. I had loneliness, boredom, emotional overwhelm. I have had clients that their goal was not to eat more vegetables or to walk 10 more minutes. I have had clients that through our coaching, the goal was to look for something fun to do every week that will involve a social interaction. Others will incorporate stress management tools that end up impacting their sleep, it impacts their hormones, it impacts many other things. And sneak peek, next week, I'm going to talk about hormones. Stress and hormones are very much interrelated. So, this is the whole thing about the appetite, right? Like you use food for so many other things. What do you do now? And again, when appetite decreases, it doesn't mean that the emotions disappear. They're still there. They simply need new ways to be processed and managed. And if you don't have that support, and if you don't create that, there are other elements of your overall health and wellness that are going to be impacted. Another emotional experience that often comes up, it's the fear of regaining weight and the panic. What am I going to do without this medication? When a lot of insurance rules changed at the beginning of this year, 2026, when I'm recording this podcast, many people were in a panic mode. They would pay hundreds, if not thousands of dollars out of pocket just because they felt they could not be without the medication for a few weeks until the insurance will go through their process and approve it. Why? Because of the fear, dependency on the medication alone, and almost a lack of trust on your own habits. And because GLP-1s work in part by reducing the appetite, many people start to wonder what will happen if they stop. I went over a lot of questions. There is an episode that I cover that in detail. But there is this thing about what is going to happen. What if I gain the weight back? Or am I going to have to stay on this medication forever? These are the questions that I hear. What happens is if the insurance stops covering it, what will happen? And I have asked them that. What would happen if you lose coverage and you just can't afford $1,000 a month to pay for this medication? What would you do? And then I bring hope. Other people lose weight and balance their blood sugar and lower their cholesterol without this medication. What makes you feel you cannot do it? You can if you get the right tools and you incorporate the right habits. For some people, the medication begins to feel like the thing that is controlling their weight rather than something that is supporting them in their strategy. That's why if you go on Instagram, if you see everything that I post, everything that I share, I stress that a lot. It's a tool, one tool. And this can create that anxiety around the idea of maintaining progress long term. Then you have the social dynamics that also changes because the weight loss becomes noticeable. Friends, family members, coworkers, they start commenting on your appearance. It's a lot of pressure. And sometimes these comments are positive, Sometimes the comments are curious, and sometimes they have a sense of judgment. Then you have some people that are uncomfortable sharing that they're using a medication to lose weight. Others feel the pressure to keep losing weight because the attention they receive reinforces the changes that are happening. So you see how it's not just about nutrition and food. That's why I felt that I needed to address this in two separate episodes. So last week, I talked a lot about the physical impact. In this episode, I'll talk about the emotional aspect. Weight loss can sometimes bring unexpected social pressure that people didn't anticipate. I had one client that shared, I was so used to being invisible that it was overwhelming to get so much attention and get so many people talked so much to me only about my appearance. Just marinate on that. Another issue is unrealistic expectations. Social media portrays GLP-1 medications as they're like that miracle solution that produces effortless weight loss for everyone. But real experiences are much more complex. Some people experience plateaus. Some people experience severe side effects. We already talked about that. Some people lose weight quickly, while others see slow process. And I see that a lot. That's another question that a lot of people ask. And when I tell them, ideally, you want to lose between 1 to 2 pounds a week, they're like, really? That's it? Sometimes I tell them to go to the supermarket and to get a bag of 1 pound, 2 pounds, even 5 pounds of rice and tell them that's the amount of weight that you want to lose every week. Do you realize that? Just to bring into perspective. So these expectations sometimes are based on dramatic before and after stories online or celebrities. These celebrities have chefs that they cook their food. These celebrities have personal trainers. They have a home gym. And guess what? If they're celebrities, that's their job. Their appearance is part of their job and their requirements. It's not as much as the health component, it's about the look component. So I want you to really think about this because even though the progress can be meaningful, it can feel disappointing if that is not the journey that you're experiencing yourself. And that is why emotional support and the behavioral support is so important. Medications can change the appetite, but they don't automatically change habits. They don't give you emotional coping strategies. They don't help you with stress management. They don't fix distorted relationships that you had with food. That kind of change requires awareness, support, and guidance from professionals who can understand both the behavioral aspect of it and the biological aspect of it that impacts your metabolic health. So, these medications can absolutely be helpful, but long term success comes from combining those tools and the strategies and the support. In the next episode, I'm going to explore another important piece of this conversation, which are hormones, because hormones impact your behavior. While it's a physical aspect, a lot of the mood, the sleep, stress levels, cortisol, appetite, leptin and ghrelin, all of these hormones, they play a part. And one reason why I wanted to talk about this is because also I'm seeing a shift of many women, especially those navigating perimenopause, living with conditions like PCOS. These hormonal shifts can significantly affect your blood sugar, it affects your appetite, it affects your weight loss regulation and your metabolic health. So, understanding that hormonal connection can help explain why so many people struggle with weight and blood sugar in ways that go far beyond willpower. And that is we're going to dive in next. Last week's episode was a bit somber. It was a bit heavy, I have to admit, because I do care so much. And if you know a little bit about my story, you know that I became a health coach not because of the financial gain. I found so much joy in helping others through my own personal struggle and journey with health. I felt that others would benefit from the same support that I wish I had, and I didn't. Now, I'm going to leave you with one thing. I would love for you to journal. Take a piece of paper, composition notebook, and ask yourself why weight loss is important. Find ways of celebrating. Think about the things that you do around food. If you graduated, if you get good grades, if you got a promotion, what do you do to celebrate? And find different ways of celebrating that are not food related. Write those things down. Whether you're on GLP-1s or not, maybe you're dealing with body image. I don't want you to look at that relationship and find ways of shifting it. I want you to look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself you are worth it, whether you're 100 or 300 or 500 pounds. You are a man or a woman of value, and your value is not in the number of your scale. Have an amazing rest of your week.